DeAnne, thanks for joining me on college.
Happy to be here.
So we wanted to talk today a little bit about equity in the classroom. I wonder if you could talk at the beginning about what equity is for you and why it's important in your classes.
So when I think about equity, I think about making sure that every student has the opportunity to meet the learning objectives in my course. I know that certain students may be prepared differently. I understand that certain students have different backgrounds, and I want to make sure that in my teaching I'm reaching each student where they are so that it's no more difficult for one student to meet those objectives than it is for another.
So your disciplinary home is in STEM. Are there any particular challenges to dealing with issues of equity in a STEM classroom?
Right. So I think in the STEM fields we think about teaching facts. Right, so in an exercise physiology class, we're teaching about the cardiovascular system and how changes occur to the heart and the rest of the cardiovascular system as a result of exercise. If we only focus on the structures, so if I'm only focusing on the heart, I'm only focusing on what research tells us about how the heart reacts, then I'm missing the human element. I might be missing the element that much of our research in cardiovascular changes in exercise has occurred in a particular population. So do those same results apply equally to members who aren't represented in the research? But as well, I think that when we're teaching anything, if I put up a PowerPoint and I have pictures that don't relate to the students in my classroom, that might create just a barrier where they might tune out. They might not see themselves involved in the field or in the science that we're talking about. So I think issues of equity occur both in what we teach as well as how we teach it.
Great. So do you have particular strategies that you use? You talked about thinking in advance about your PowerPoint slides, but what other strategies do you keep in mind for dealing with equity in your classroom?
I really deal with it overall, I think, by beginning with the idea that every student is capable. I think all students are smart. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. And my job is to figure out what it is that they bring to the classroom and then build on that. And each student is going to come in with a different set of skills. They're going to come in with different assumptions. I see my job as making sure that I'm building on the skills that they have and not necessarily penalizing students who may have been resourced better than others prior to getting to me.
Great. And are there particular resources that you've found helpful in your thinking about equity and you're thinking about equity in STEM specifically, or things that faculty could look to as a helpful resource for thinking about equity in their own classrooms?
A lot of what informs my thinking and my teaching is my personal experience. My experience as a student who came through in the STEM field, not having people at the front of the classroom who looked like me, and still somehow persevering, and finally running into professors who got me, right? Who saw my potential and challenged me to reach my potential. And so I start with that. I know that all students might need an extra push, and I try to make myself recognize when students are challenged and meet them in those challenges. And so, like I said, that's my personal experience, but I think that all of us can draw on what it is that we need and maybe draw on what we needed as students and then help our students to not have to deal with those same hurdles.
Yeah.
I think they're just doing it to mess with us.
He's doing loops.
So keep going when they come through?
Yeah,
or?
just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.